I'll be having him as my guest. And first, I have already in the studio Philip Langdon. He is a member of the MPP, but also a special advisor to Alan Kyerematen, who is one of the personalities contesting the flag bearership race of the MPP. You know, they're going to have a special Congress, they call it. They have to trim the number of 7 to 5 as the Constitution stipulates, and then that 5 will be put before the wider delegates of the party, I believe somewhere in October 26th, thereabouts. There'll be a national election concurrently held in all regional capitals of the country. Very good as far as democracy is concerned. And thanks for joining me.
My pleasure.
Okay, and how is Mr. Kyerematen doing?
Oh, he's doing very well, and he's fine.
How's the campaigning?
He's going very well. You know, at the moment he's doing campaigning with super delegates. The first election you mentioned, to trim it down to 5, is what we call the super delegates, and he's now working very seriously on that, yes.
I'm sure he has his own thoughts on the current happenings in the MPP, I'm sure.
Oh, yes. I mean, the various happenings, what he's very unhappy about is the fracas that occurred at the party headquarters. You know, some people were doing their best to disrupt the press conference of the General Secretary. They had tried various ways, and they had not been successful, but yet on the day of the press conference, towards the tail end.
Okay.
You know,
we'll be discussing that in detail, so let's not take the wind out of our sails. But crucially, let's talk on the subject of Ebola, because we're just being told that government has set up an Ebola secretariat, while the 3 promised isolation centers are still in the process of development. The one up north not started at all. We've had 2 others for some to be located in Accra and Kumasi under completion, something like that. And following that, we also have tertiary institutions being asked now to reopen from the 27th of August. What do you make of our own preparedness, our readiness, etc.?
Well, thank you very much. The preparedness, you know, remember some time back we had a major press conference that was supposed to assure us of the measures that have been put in place to arrest the problem if it ever were to emerge here. Subsequently to that, we've heard a lot of reports about how unprepared we are. So it just tells you that, like with many things, there's a lot more talk than action. I just hope sincerely that as the criticisms have come along the way and they've been addressing them, we'll see more expedited action. These centers that they've talked about are setting up, up to now they haven't set up. It's something I can't understand. This is a crisis situation, and the government said they had voted money. I would have thought that they would have arranged for some of that money to fly in the facilities to set up these detention centers. Well, that is the first thing to stop any spread, you know. But as we all know, that hasn't happened. I will continue to pray sincerely that they would work hard and put things in place so that it can be dealt with if it unfortunately arrives here. Yeah.
Now, especially when we know that already hospitals or public health institutions in the Greater Accra region are so much overwhelmed with cholera cases, it puts into sharp focus the readiness of, let's say, other public health institutions even in other regions. Supposing we have an emergency, how will they be in a position to detect? By the time they detect it, would it have spread, etc.?
Well, that is another very sad reflection. The cholera outbreak has been, to a very large degree, a consequence of our very insanitary conditions.
As people?
Yes. Well, not as people, I will not say so. That exists in Accra. Today, as we speak, the sanitary situation is much better than it was 2-3 weeks ago. His Excellency, the Vice President, had to virtually step in to get the AMA boss to do his job. Is that the way we should go? And the situation that we are seeing now, that we are seeing is much better than before, is a situation that should have existed before now. And the emphasis should have been to improve what we have today, to get it to where we expect it to be. So this is mediocrity. We cannot accept this and beat ourselves on the chest and say we've done a good job.
So you're raising questions about the efficiency of institutions we have?
Absolute, you know, absolutely. The efficiency of the waste management of Accra in particular by the AMA. It's terrible. The other time when the waste contractors were complaining, there was a press conference, there was a media encounter, and the mayor presented a check of some money. This is something that should be going on as part of his job. Why should this be done and there's so much fanfare as though we've done something so... You see, this is a certain level of development which is Ghana as a country. We've passed that. We've passed that. This is what should be going on a day-to-day basis. When a mayor goes to work, he has to plan. We know our landfill sites are going to be full in 5 years' time. We start planning today for 5 years. We don't wait when it's full, then we start saying, well, our landfill sites are full, so therefore, you know, then we think
so
that...
to the time we take the next action, then we're in a very difficult situation, precarious situation.
You see, so that is a complete reflection that the job is not being well done at all. Now, as a consequence of all these things, we've had the cholera outbreak. Now, the outbreak has come. The other day I was reading one of the newspapers, South Abadi Polyclinic. I mean, people were lying on the ground in the corridors, cholera patients. The facility is overwhelmed with patients. And this is cholera. So, God forbid, if something more serious comes up. So these are real challenges, which are a reflection on the way things are being managed. It should never have come to this.
And talking on this very subject, I have to borrow the phrase of Dr. Mensa Otabil, who says that as a country we need a new leadership response. Of course, that was misconstrued in many respects.
Yes.
But do you think that is the way we need to go?
Roland, every
Holding
day...
a lot more people accountable.
Absolutely. I mean, even in your establishment, if anything goes wrong, you'll be held. If something else goes wrong, the next man will be held. And because of that system that is in place, everything works in this organization. It's a joy to come and deal with you guys. You come here and everybody is doing his job. Everything works. You know what I'm saying? So, but you know, we don't see it happening on the national stage. And every time I'm speaking on political issues, I'm calling for a change in leadership. His Excellency President Mahama must change the way he's doing things. Absolutely.
Okay, you the politician, at which point would you stop depoliticizing issues? Or will you stop politicizing issues and be more objective and depoliticize?
Roland, the fact that I'm calling for change doesn't mean I'm being political.
Then what are you being then?
I'm being critical of the government. The same way I expect that if my party comes to power, the opposition will also be responsible and be critical of the government, all in the interest of the country. So that when things are not going right, it will be pointed out in good faith. And then you, the man in charge, will do the right thing for our general good. So I don't see it as political. If the AMA is not doing something right, I'll say it. If they are doing something right, I will say I won't be ashamed to say it or afraid to say it. We must encourage them when they are doing well and draw their attention and criticize them when they are not doing so well. You know, so that is the way it is. I don't think that any such action with insults is what I will never accept. I will not stand for anybody insulting the mayor or the president or vice president or anybody. If you have your disagreement, table your disagreement. Table your issue without rancor and insult or any aggression. So I think that is the way to go. And at the end of the day, all we are doing is for Ghana and for the good of the country.
Now, talking about leadership, were you satisfied with the way the World Cup and its management by the management committee and the whole team in itself was undertaken?
Well, Roland,
I'm asking you this because now we have the former minister before the commission put together by the president to investigate Ghana's participation at the World Cup.
Yeah. I think the investigation by the president is welcome news. There were many who were skeptical that the president might probably not do it by virtue of, you know, he being the president and his people were the ones in charge. So I must commend him for having put that in place. And also, I personally haven't been able to follow these recent developments very carefully. I've seen bits and pieces of the interview with the former minister. I wasn't very happy with the way he handled some of the questions that I saw being tackled. I didn't see that level of seriousness from him. I saw an attitude of, you know, it's like trying to talk his way out of things. And I found that more questions were being raised than answers being given. You know, that suggests to me that this thing wasn't very well managed. I cannot imagine that the justification, and mind you, I'm not saying our players are not do not justifiably need their bonuses.
Or don't deserve.
Do not deserve, no, I'm not saying that. They deserve their bonus. But as the minister, if we paid 75,000 the last time, and you see the players asking for 120,000, so like a Makola situation, we go and bargain. You said 120, I said 75. Okay, let's meet at 100. I mean, is that how government business is run? There has to be a proper basis on which you justify the 75,000 to start with. Why we should even maintain the 75,000 that we paid the last time before we even begin to talk about any possible increase. And we'll talk about this possible increase in the light of our current situations. And as the managers, even the way you engage the players, the way you talk to them, I know these our players will be quite comfortable accepting the same 75,000.
How do you know? Have you been a football manager before or administrator?
I haven't been a football manager or administrator.
But you
before.
made such conclusions.
Oh, because I managed various establishments before, and at the end of the day, it's still people management. And you and I know, just as our viewers know, that many of our players are very, very devoted players. They leave their clubs, which pay them 10 times more, to come and play for Ghana. It is not the money that is the issue. Sometimes these agitations come about as a result of other things that happen in the camp, not necessarily the money. So if they had been engaged well, I believe that if the emphasis was to save money for the country, they could have arranged and managed the situation better and paid them the same 75,000 or maybe even 5% more. You know, but just to say that, oh, they asked for 120,000, so therefore this is a justification. That is a very unscientific way of managing such an issue.
Now, if you get a breakdown of what the inquisition of the committee or the commission of the former minister, there's some revelations. For example, he says a budget was made for 612 supporters, but when we got there, or when the team got there, they had an extra 80 supporters, or is it 84 supporters who were there? They didn't know how they came there, but they absorbed them. If you were in charge of such an operation, would you have accepted people you hadn't budgeted for?
No, first of all, your operations will be such, for various reasons. It will not be possible for one extra person to find his way. How did that person get on the flight?
No, the person is a Ghanaian. Didn't join the flight, but came to the camp in Brazil.
I mean, it's ridiculous. And it's being justified. It's ridiculous. The processes in place, the safety of the players, all the standards are such that one person who, let us break it down to simple terms. Can you tell me, or anybody tells me, I use your establishment as a simple example. Can somebody, can you accept that, oh, well, you were expecting one person in the studio, but suddenly, when the program started, there were 6 people sitting down? This is what they're telling us.
Well, he seems to portray a certain situation where he said the supporters were Ghanaian, so you could not throw them out, considering the potential danger in sending them away. So it was decided to accommodate and feed them, and that would have swelled a budget. That's an overrun, right?
No, you see, you see, it's not. We are handling it on very simplistic terms, and it is unfortunate that at that level, ministerial level, such arguments are being made. And I'm giving you a simple example of your organization.
Ideally, what do you think should have happened? So supposing
it should never have
supposing a minister or a manager is faced with such a situation. You go to a country.
Yes.
You have budgeted for 612 people.
Yes.
Those are the people you ferried or carted there. Now you have extra people who are also of your kind, who come there. They need some level of assistance.
Well, they refugees.
Are you asking me questions?
I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I respect your office in this situation that you are there. But I cannot imagine how anybody could tell, because we should understand the process. There is a camp. The camp, there are strong regulations that specify who should be at that camp. A budget has been made. Everybody who is at that camp, there's a certain level of accountability for their whereabouts, their safety, their feeding, their movements. It's not like a stadium where you open the door and you find that there were 10,000 people in the stands. It is something far more serious than that. That takes years of preparation. So I cannot imagine that if you had done all those years of preparation, hard preparations, you come and tell me that you ended up with 84 people there, so you had to provide for them. It is so ridiculous and incompetent. I cannot believe
You're
it.
an entrepreneur, you're a business person,
Yes.
and I'm sure you're a manager as well.
Yes.
For example, you know, there was this presidential board that was put together before. It cost 188,665 Ghana cedis.
That's right.
That's within terms, right?
That's mind-boggling. It's mind-boggling.
You mean that night's event couldn't have cost that much? I mean, if you do estimations.
Look,
Of
they
course,
should give you a breakdown.
Of course, prices hadn't increased until
well,
recently. Yeah.
in all fairness, let them give us a breakdown, because as it stands, for me, it's mind-boggling. Unless, of course, there was several cartons of the most expensive champagne, some of the most expensive brandies, Exos, you know, Courvoisiers, etc. Some of the best, choicest wines. It could justify it.
You seem to have a taste for.
Oh well, I
good
appreciate.
brands.
Oh, I appreciate what those good brands are. Unfortunately, some of us we cannot normally afford those things, but I appreciate what they are. But I'm saying that if they were to give us a breakdown, and that breakdown indicated that these are the kind of things that were served and provided,
Then they will be justified.
in lavish, then that would explain it, not justify it, because I cannot see a justification for this level of expenditure for a dinner.
Okay, so now following all that, it's anyway. So we just, but today he's appearing again before the commission.
Yes.
And do you think that Ghanaians as a whole will be fair to the former minister, considering the difficulties that he said he went through?
I think Ghanaians as a whole, in all fairness, sometimes are not too fair on our political leaders, generally. That's what makes their job very difficult. So as a political leader, you have to be extremely careful. Because even sometimes when you're doing the right thing, you might not do it properly and you have problems with the people. So that is the difficulty of the situation.
So circumspection is key.
Key. That is why I cannot imagine some of the answers that this ex-minister is giving us. They sound very, some of them sound even reckless. Just talk as though you're just chatting some issue. Yet we are expecting carefully considered answers to questions. But it's just, you know, it's just a reflection of the way things are going.
Okay. The